Hello there everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wonder Boy 3 Monster Lair. I recognised, re-watching my footage, that I actually called the game by the wrong name in the last episode, but I'll be honest, that really says it all about this. It's not a particularly interesting game. Not memorable enough even to remember the name of the game as I'm continuing on the playthrough of it. Anyway, in this episode, we're taking on level, I believe should be 5 of the game. Yes, level 5. The Ice World. Which is probably the most interesting one yet. Because it actually throws something new at you. That being these ice physics. The ground we're walking on here is constantly causing us to slip and slide. So our movement's generally just a lot slipperier than it has been up until this point. Which is a little bit of an interesting change. It does throw a couple of fairly difficult platforming challenges towards us in the later half of it that we haven't really seen up until this point. It's been barely even a platformer up until now. It's been more of a side-scroller than anything. But it does finally throw some interesting stuff towards us at the end of the level. Unfortunately, before that, we're just doing a lot of this long, tedious stretches with very little of interest on the way. So, kind of a level of two halves, to be honest. I believe it's here. Yep, we've unfortunately got a terrible weapon for the situation, but what we need to do is jump on this spring, and we haven't needed to use it up until now. But if you hold up on whatever you're using to move, whether that's the thumbstick or whether it's the D-pad, as you jump, you actually hover in the air slightly. So we needed to use that to make it over the gap with the jump of the spring. So it's something that isn't really communicated in the game. It's certainly not explained. We need to get in very close to that guy to avoid getting hit by his projectiles with the weapon we had. But it's not really explained in the game, but first time it's really been mandatory. Anyway, that's the level completed pretty successfully. We move on to, of course, the suit 'em up for the level. A pretty tedious one, in all honesty. It's more of these penguin-y snowmen enemies that we've had up until now. Continuing their up and down patterns. It can really trip you up though. Some of them get pretty extreme by the end of it. As you can see, they're like screen-wide dives. Which is frustrating because it reduces our health, which is pretty strong, right as we hit the final boss of the level of Ice World. His name is, and don't laugh here, it's Chunkus. And he is probably the most frustrating boss fight yet. Effectively, what he does is he bounces around. He likes to stay up right at the top of the screen for some reason, but he bounces around, firing out projectiles, and occasionally, well, I say occasionally, but very often, putting down these barriers of ice, which expand if you shoot them. And if you hit the barriers of ice, you die instantly. So, you want to be very careful with your movements to avoid taking damage from him, while also avoiding hitting the blocks of ice. If you know what you're doing, it's not particularly difficult, but it is very long and tedious, like most things in this game, if you don't want to be taking damage. Because you just end up sitting right at the bottom of the screen while he's right at the top, and occasionally, when the coast is clear, you kind of dive up and hope he comes down to meet you. But it's generally very slow and tedious. Occasionally a block falls down, and that's really the only thing that can cause any sort of danger to you. But eventually, I say eventually, come on, you're nearly there, you're on the red, there you go. Eventually Chunkus dies, and with that, the level is over. Ice World completed. We're now officially past the halfway mark of the game. Now, thank you all for watching. That will be it for today's episode. Next time we move on to the what I can seeing is the most difficult level of the game, the desert, but that's for next episode. So, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, I'll see you next time, but for now, adios and ciao.